Will Smith is one of Hollywood's biggest stars, but behind the blockbuster movies are stories most fans have never heard. From turning down The Matrix to accidentally spoiling his own movie and losing major roles over money, these shocking facts reveal a side of Will Smith you probably didn't know. Here are 10 shocking Will Smith stories you never knew. Will Smith went through an incredible transformation to play Muhammad Ali in Ali. To convincingly portray the boxing legend, Smith trained under world-class coach Darryl Foster, who had worked with Olympic champion Sugar Ray Leonard. His regimen was intense, starting each day with a 3 to 5 mile run, followed by hours of boxing drills and heavy weight training. Smith also packed on 35 pounds of muscle to match Ali's competitive weight of 210 pounds, dedicating himself to full-time training for the role. By the time filming began, he moved, fought, and looked like a real professional boxer, bringing Ali's physical presence to life on screen. Will Smith was in his early 20s when he became the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, yet he looked convincing as a high school kid. Decades later, that fresh-faced energy still hasn't faded. In fact, when his younger clone was needed for Gemini Man, the studio had to create a digital version because Smith looked far too close to his younger self. Even now in his 50s, he carries the same boyish charm that made him a household name. From rapping about parents who just don't understand to raising 3 grown kids, Smith has remained ageless, still looking like he could walk right back onto the Bel-Air set. Will Smith walked away from a career-defining role because the story didn't end the way he believed it should. Smith initially accepted the lead in Django Unchained after connecting with the story of a man fighting to rescue his wife from slavery. But as development continued, he realized he and the filmmaker disagreed on the core message. Smith wanted the movie to be driven by love, not revenge, and felt he couldn't connect to violence as the answer. Because of that difference, he chose to step away, and the role went to Jamie Foxx instead. Will Smith accidentally spoiled a major plot twist before audiences ever saw it. While talking about I Am Legend, Smith started rambling about the story and crossed into ending territory without realizing it. A co-producer and co-screenwriter suddenly shouted for him to stop, but the damage was already done. Reporters in the room were then asked not to publish the ending, forcing last-minute damage control. The slip was especially risky because, even though the movie was based on a novel adapted before, the screenwriters had completely changed the ending, meaning it was meant to be a surprise for everyone watching. Will Smith helped make Independence Day the biggest movie of 1996, but when the sequel arrived, his character was already dead. After becoming one of Hollywood's top-paid stars, Smith was approached for 2 planned Independence Day follow-ups. Director Roland Emmerich said Smith agreed to star in both for a total of $50 million. That price tag reportedly made him too expensive for the production. When Independence Day Resurgence hit theaters in 2016, Captain Stephen Hiller had been killed off screen, and the franchise continued without Smith. Some movie failures sting more than others, and one film hit especially hard for Will Smith. In the sci-fi adventure After Earth, Smith played a father leading space expeditions with his son, Jaden Smith, searching for habitable planets in the distant future. After their ship crash lands on a dangerous Earth, the story follows Jaden's character trying to survive lethal creatures and reunite with his injured father. But the movie struggled badly with critics and at the box office. For Smith, the disappointment ran deep. He later described the project as the most painful failure of his entire career. One movie decision still haunts Will Smith because it meant walking away from a completely different blockbuster. Will Smith chose to star in Wild Wild West, teaming up with Kevin Kline in a big-budget action comedy. But that choice came with a major trade-off. Smith had actually turned down the lead role of Neo in The Matrix, the part that eventually went to Keanu Reeves. While Wild Wild West was met with harsh reviews, The Matrix became a massive hit and launched an entire franchise with multiple sequels. Looking back, Smith has admitted that if he could give his younger self advice, it would be simple: don't do Wild Wild West. Will Smith took on one of his earliest serious movie roles in 6 Degrees of Separation, but there was one scene he refused to film directly. The story required Smith's character to share a passionate kiss with Anthony Michael Hall, and Smith reportedly became uncomfortable with the moment before filming. According to the story, he even asked Denzel Washington for advice beforehand and ultimately decided against kissing his co-star on camera. To work around the issue, the production filmed the scene from behind so the kiss could be faked without clearly showing contact. The workaround allowed the movie to keep the scene while avoiding the direct shot originally planned in the script. Will Smith had a superhero franchise ready to explode, and then the sequel completely vanished. After Hancock became a box office hit, plans for another movie started moving fast, with director Peter Berg even revealing story details for a follow-up that would partly explore the past of Smith's troubled hero. Smith stayed excited about expanding the universe and kept coming up with new ideas for where the story could go next. Everything made it look like Hancock was becoming another major franchise alongside Men in Black and Bad Boys. But as Smith's schedule filled with projects like After Earth and Men in Black 3, the sequel slowly stalled until all progress disappeared. A Disney reboot almost landed a huge star, until one number changed everything. Will Smith was approached to star in Tim Burton's live-action Dumbo, but the deal never came together. One reported obstacle was salary, as Smith allegedly asked for $20 million for the role. Disney wasn't willing to pay that amount, and began searching for a different lead, eventually casting Colin Farrell instead. After leaving the project, Smith reportedly secured a similarly lucrative deal for Netflix's Bright. The story didn't end there, though. Disney later returned with another reboot offer, and this time Smith signed on to play Genie in Aladdin.